ready to go. I think we have the audience ready to go. Once again, thank you guys for joining the call. Today is our NSBE HISIG Q4 business meeting, and we have a special opportunity to go into a bit more detail with you guys. If you are aware of anyone that should be on the call that you'd like to invite in the call, please go ahead and invite them over. We want to encourage others that are interested in learning a little bit more about healthcare to join us today. And we have a full hour of content that will essentially help you learn a little bit more about some of our programs, as well as our partners here, Siemens, Healthineers. If you heard about this in LinkedIn, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having a discussion with you guys. So without further ado, I just want to say thank you for joining again. My name is Alfredo Juku. I am the HISIG, NSBE HISIG director. I'm super excited to be here with you guys. And one of the few things that I'd like to just share with the team is, I'm really proud of the work we've been doing. I'm really excited to have our team here representing, sharing the work that we've been doing within NSBE and within HISIG, especially within the different FRCs. We've done a lot of work with encouraging them. So our remarks for you is to share this conversation, share these opportunities, share these discussions with your teams, with your colleagues. I think it's important for everyone that might have interest in learning a little bit more about healthcare, have an opportunity to sit in on one of these sessions and learn what we're doing and why we're doing it. With the work that Prince has done, our membership chair, I'm super and highly appreciative of the opportunity to kind of share that with you guys. So with that, I invite you guys to continue to come in. We meet once a quarter, and we usually have these meetings scheduled. And at the end, we'll show you how to connect with us. And we look forward to hearing your thoughts. If you have any questions along the way, if you have any concerns, feel free to raise your hand. However, when we start the presentation, we'll probably save the Q&As for later, but you'll hear a lot about HISIG and what we do from an operational standpoint today. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, you will learn much more than you have before. So let's go and dive into the content. So, all right, just a few housekeeping, and you guys have done a great job so far about keeping the housekeeping components ready to go. One thing I'll say is please keep your audio and video settings on mute. If you have a reason to turn it on, if you have a reason to open it up, please let us know and we will adjust that. Our intention is to make sure that you are fully engaged, fully present. If you have comments or questions that you might want to post in the chat, feel free to do that. We do have a Q&A button, so if you do want to use a Q&A feature, it's right at the top. We encourage you to do that. And last line, as you mentioned already, just hold your Q&As towards the end. Again, we'd love to see the Q&As in the chat. We want you to be open-minded and have all your questions ready because the content is going to come super fast, super quick, and super excited. And that's some of the housekeeping rules. We love hearts, so really quick, I just want to see, just to make sure people know how to use the reaction button. So if you hear something you like, feel free to use the heart and share it out. If you hear something that you agree with, feel free to use the thumbs up. If you have something that's very emotional, there's other options where you can post in the chat. And if you just want to laugh, put a smiley face out there. And we love those smiley faces because we know that you are paying attention and watching the speakers as they go. So that's it for the housekeeping items. Thank you for being a part of this again. And one other ask for each and every one of you guys. I would challenge everyone on this call to reach out to at least one friend that is in healthcare. I don't care if it's in your chats. I don't care if it's in your LinkedIn. I don't care if it's in your email. Send them a quick message and say, hey, if they're in healthcare and they have interest in healthcare, invite them to this call. They'll be surprised how much they learn. We will record this. We will make it available on our HISIG YouTube channel for you to watch. But we do want to give people the opportunity to listen to the content live because it is full of information that will be helpful for people looking for job opportunities, helpful for people looking for opportunities to grow their career, helpful for people looking for opportunities to go in the grad space, and just generally connecting with others that are within the healthcare space. And you'll hear more about that as we go forward. Without further ado, let me dive into the agenda so that everyone is aware of sort of the flow and the content. We are just right on time here. We're going to go dive into the HISIG overview. I'm going to pass it over to Mr. John Thomas and Tony Black in a second. Then after that, we're going to dive in a bit more into the Siemens Healthineers, which is the core portion of our conversation today. And as we continue that, we'll talk about some of the upcoming events because we want to keep you up to speed as to what we're doing as a community, who we're partnering with, and the types of activities that we plan to have. And then lastly, we'll end with a few future outlooks, what to expect, what to see, and then some options for networking and informational discussions. So that's the flow of today's content. If it goes over, please do your best to stay with us. If not, we definitely enjoy your presence and your continued participation. One last bid to reach out to a colleague of yours or friend of yours, invite them to this call. It's important to have those individuals that want to learn from this opportunity. And with that, I'll pass it over to our founding director and emeritus, Mr. John Thomas, and our HISIG advisor, Mr. Tony Black.
Oh, thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you. My name is Tony Black. I'm a HISIG advisor, and I'm going to quickly review our HISIG vision and mission with you. So the HISIG vision is to be the most trusted ecosystem for technical expertise and solutions to complex healthcare problems impacting the Black community. And it's followed by our mission, which is to promote the development and implementation of innovations that will improve diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of injury, illness, and disease. And I just want to say we cannot have a successful outreach and moving forward and with this vision and mission without the partnership and assistance of solid focused partners like Siemens. So very glad to have them here at this event. Now I'll turn the mic over to our founder, John Thomas, so he can discuss our care strategy.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Tony's humble in his opening remarks on the mission, and was remiss to say that Tony, as well as myself, are HISIG leadership alum. Tony had dedicatedly served as our communications and secretary lead in the second leadership iteration for the NSBE Healthcare Innovation Team leadership team. Myself, I'm John Thomas, as they mentioned. I'm a founding director of NSBE's Healthcare Innovation Group that sits within the NSBE professional membership. The mission that Tony had articulated is really achieved by what we defined as our strategic care strategy, where CARE is an acronym for connecting our NSBE members that are interested in healthcare innovation with professionals in academia, government, and industry for membership, professional development, and career opportunities. That's the C that starts our care. We also care with the following A, which stands for advancing healthcare innovations through research, development, and commercialization. The R of our care is supporting healthcare corporate partners like Siemens Healthineers recruit and retain NSBE professionals and collegiates interested in healthcare innovation and career opportunities with our healthcare corporate partners. The E in our care represents our efforts to educate and expose, very similar to this Q4 business webinar, is really around educating and exposing members within the Black and Brown communities to healthcare disparities, innovations, and career. As you can see, the team, which started in 2016 with 3 engineers and 40 supporters, has grown over 600% from 2016 to now in 2024, led by Alfred with a team of 15 and over 40,000 supporters. So with that, we'll transition to our next.
Sorry, I was showing the slide. This is an important piece, so you know who the players are. And to Dr. John, as John Thomas mentioned, here are the players that you're going to see. Well, you hear from them more from them in towards the end, but I want to make sure you know who are the people behind the magic that happens, and we're always looking for more support. So you can see what it's there. So, Brother John, thank you so much for sharing that information, and we look forward to learning more about that. Thank you, Tony. Thank you so much, and John, thank you so much for that. Without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to Mr. Prince, who is our membership chair, to introduce our next speaker. So, Prince, you want to do the introduction here?
Okay. I want to thank everyone for showing up once again. And now we're going to welcome our Siemens Healthineers group, and our presenter is Manny Niebla. He's the Senior Vice President and Head of Marketing, Sales, Operations, and Communications. Thank you so much. He's been there for a long time and he's a very experienced person. He's been involved with NSBE for quite some time. He was at the NSBE convention at Atlanta, and we are so happy to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prince. And I don't know if you want me to come on camera, stay off camera for bandwidth, whatever you prefer, I will do. So just
Come
let me
on
know.
camera. Hey, this is where you get to do the round of applause, clapping the hearting, because we have our partner, Mr. Manuel Nebula here. So if you could just give him a round of applause, show him some love. That's what we do, right? Thank you for turning your camera on. We'd love to hear from you.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. And thanks for the honor to have and come and present to you. In talking to Prince and some of the other individuals around NSBE, I tailored the presentation to what you guys were asking for in terms of health equity, access to care, personalized medicine, and what some of the innovations that we at Siemens are doing as well to kind of bring you up and bring information into in terms of the industry, the marketplace, as well as the general idea of what innovations and future care for some disease states that may be occurring, and then also at the end talk about some career opportunities within Siemens Healthineers as well. Thank you. So like Prince said, I head our marketing, sales ops, and communications team here at Siemens Healthineers for North America. I've been here 29 years in multiple roles. Started as an individual contributor in sales and moved my way up through different areas of the company and different divisions of the company to where I am today. So I've been fortunate enough to have been given a great career here at Siemens Healthineers, and hope to share some of that with you today as well. Next slide. So what I wanted to talk about first was kind of set the stage of some of the problems within healthcare that we're facing, and then afterwards tell you a little bit about how Siemens, what the responsibility we feel and what role we feel we partake and we owe our clients and the patients, and some of the innovations that we're taking forward as well, and specifically some of the new areas of disease management, such as Alzheimer's, theranostics, etc., that I'll explain, but to kind of give you a little bit idea of not just what's happening in terms of healthcare globally and here in the US, but also what's happening in terms of healthcare, and how we're trying to solve these problems that today still exist in America even, right? So next slide. So I kind of wanted to kind of set the stage first, right, with you guys of what what some of the issues are, because sometimes we take for granted, especially here in the U.S., of what the situation really looks like or really is. So just some pure facts initially, and these are all, and the sources are at the bottom of the slides. But 50% of the global population still lacks essential health services. 43% of it is more than an hour away, and over 80% of the US lacks adequate health care. And a lot of times, especially in these last two circles, we think of this as, oh, those are third world countries. Oh, those are other LMIC countries or countries that aren't fully developed. But that's happening right here in the US. That's happening right here in our communities and where we live. When you say about the 43% of the world's population is more than an hour to reach a nearest healthcare facility, think rural, think urban. The difference, I live in Atlanta, but even within Atlanta, if you live in rural Georgia, your morbidity and mortality is higher than if you lived in metro Atlanta to receive for cancer care. So even within the state of Georgia, there's discrepancies and inequities that we need to find ways to help solve. Next slide. So when we talk about access to care and also obviously health equity, right, we really need to think about it in terms of just receiving care, because access to care is not just about receiving care, but we got to think about it. Is it affordable, right? Is it something that is close to us? Does it take into account our specific cultural concerns? Maybe we don't speak the same language. Maybe we don't look alike and don't feel comfortable with who's providing care to us. All those are things that we need to take into account when we're thinking about health equity and access to care. It is not simply just, can I get care or not get care? It's how I get care, where I get care, by whom do I receive care? Those are all things that are very important with all of us as we look to solve this problem of health equity. And then the second portion of it is the social determinants of health. There's a lot of factors that go into what how our health is determined, right? There's genes, there's economic stability, there's education levels, social access, etc. All these things that matter, that make a difference in terms of where how we receive care, and what, not only how we receive it, but when we receive it, how does our bodies and our disease react to it as well. Next slide. So this is more of an eye chart, but I wanted to highlight it, show it to you, because it clearly shows how social determinants have an effect. In most cases, a bad effect, or worse, you're worse off by certain groups, ethnic groups such as Hispanics, Blacks, Asian, etc. Right? These are groups that are apt to have worse care or worse outcomes based on the predetermined social determinants of healthcare that each one of us has had. So all these are problems, right, that we have within our communities within the US. Now, what we need to try to do is, how are we going to be part of the solution? And what is Siemens, or not just Siemens, but other companies as well, but I'll speak for Siemens, what are we doing in terms of innovations and taking on social responsibility as well to address some of these very specific problems? Next slide. So specifically here, you see some of the four boxes, right? But I want to point out some ways that we here at Siemens are aspiring for better outcomes for our patients. For example, we're helping countries to meet the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So our portion is that we're trying to aim our research, aim our innovation, aim how we strive to help enable the delivery of care to ways that impact the sustainability development goals. We also form this as with long-term partnerships with global organizations and customers. We can't do this alone. We manufacture products that enable the care to be delivered to the patients. But a lot of this is basically with clinical providers. So we have very strong, what we call value partnerships with specific customers that we develop so that we help transform healthcare. We bring the engineering knowledge, and they can bring the clinical know-how to together transform healthcare. Some of our partners include Medical University of South Carolina, University of Miami, Wake Forest, University of North Carolina, University of Missouri, Johns Hopkins. These are all places that we have partnerships with to help collaborate together to then really determine the next thing, or the next way, or the next manner, the next tool that can enable us to provide better healthcare for our people. And we need to, when we do this, we don't think of it alone as in Metro Atlanta, Baltimore, Maryland, Raleigh, North Carolina, Miami, Florida. Those are the places we'll think about. We also want to focus on LMICs, right? And those are low to middle income countries. So we're not just thinking about the US or specific cities, but also low to middle income countries. And even within the US, although we're one country, there's areas within the US that aren't meet these qualifications or these guidelines that we need to strive better to provide better care about. And again, a lot of that is done through our value partnerships with our customers, and rethinking how we design, how we research, how we establish the right equipment, the right tools to provide able to deliver care. So, for example, a facility in Metro Atlanta might be able to afford the latest technology, the latest MRI with all the widgets and gadgets and everything that can be has ever been developed and thought of by a human person to be delivered, while someone in rural Georgia needs to provide the same, or we want to be able to provide this, to have them provide the same level of care. So when we innovate and we engineer, we need to make sure that it could be for Metro Atlanta as well as rural Georgia. And I keep referring to Georgia just because that's where I live, but that's true in most states, around the whole country, where there's areas that are more urban, more rural, and the care is different, unfortunately, that the patients and other individuals receive. You go to the next slide. So what we're doing here is we're trying to pioneer breakthroughs in healthcare for, and this is part of our mission, right? Pioneering breakthroughs in healthcare for everyone, everywhere, sustainably. So what do we do? What can we do? How can we contribute? Besides the equipment that we develop, we also know that there's a shortage, for example, of radiology technologists. So how do we partner with these customers to create workforce development projects, to create workforce development programs where a hospital may work with a community college or with us as industry to partner together to how do we train individuals for the future? How do we take individuals that may have an interest and train them in a way that that is sustainable, but that they can also contribute to the communities that they are in. So those are some of the areas that we work not only with the value partnerships, but with other customers in general as well. The other piece you'll see here on the bottom left is a picture of a truck with some ladies in pink outside of it. And this is our mammo truck. So this is a truck that has a mammography unit in it. And what we do is we partner with hospitals or customers where they provide the clinical expertise, the radiologists, et cetera, and then ongoing treatment if there's any findings. We provide the technology and we go to underserved areas. So, for example, church parking lots in underserved areas of Philadelphia, or with Wake, underserved areas of the Raleigh community. So different areas. Also, we went to Buffalo as well. New York. So these are places that we go to together with our customers to bring care to individuals. And in some of these cases, we have stories, especially in Pennsylvania, where there were ladies that were 70 something years old and had never had a mammogram in their life, right? And we want to try to see how we contribute to part of that. So that's another program that we have. I'll talk about lung screening in a little bit as well. But these are programs where we collaborate with our community to be part of it and be part of the solution and solve the problems. And one thing I didn't say at the beginning, but I think it's important to bring up as he brings up this slide, is, our name is Siemens Healthineers, and we're part of Siemens AG, which is a bigger company. Although we are our own individual entity, they're the majority shareholder in Siemens Healthineers. But I think a key thing about it is the word Healthineers. That was a very deliberate naming that was given to us by our CEO when the name was created. And what it is, it's really the merging of pioneering and engineering. And together with health, that's how we came up with the Healthineers name. Because we usually in the market, we're known for our innovation. We're known for being the first to market with the first new X or the first new Y. That's what Siemens is known for. That's what's in our DNA. So that Healthineers name is very important for us going forward. Now, as we transform care, you see, and some of you may have experienced this yourselves, as when you receive care in for different illnesses or preventive screenings, that care is moving outside of the hospital because care needs to go where the patients are at as well, right? So we talk about where care is provided or can be provided in terms of either a freestanding imaging center. If you hurt your knee, you may go to an imaging center that's not tied to a hospital to get an MRI. You may go get at the ambulatory surgery center, you may have minor surgery. You may go to an office-based lab to do specific cardiac procedures. And obviously, probably most of us, I know I have at one point gone to an urgent care center instead of the ER, which usually is quicker, faster, and more efficient. And these are ways where healthcare is being transformed to care in a more cost-effective, efficient, and expedient and customer-friendly way for the patient than what it is going to the typical traditional four halls of the hospital, which in a lot of ways, there's a lot of process around that can at times, for more minor illnesses or procedures that don't have to be done at the hospital, become more cumbersome and longer staying. So locations are changing. And with that, we as a company, and you hopefully as you go on into your careers, will see that we need to play a role in that going forward. Now, this is just a picture to show kind of what I talked about earlier in terms of the mammography unit. These were all the Siemens team at the University of Pennsylvania. Together, they went and supported the mammo truck there to really provide no-cost mammograms to women and connect, if there were any findings, they would connect them there with the physicians at Penn to provide care there. Next slide. By the way, one thing I'll say about this previous slide, mammography is not a female-only problem. It's a people problem. We all should take a part in the solution as well. So you see there a lot of our male colleagues there as well. This is not, should just not be seen as a female problem, something they need to handle. We need to handle this as a team, a family team in most cases when there's findings. So something that we believe is very important, that there's a good diverse group of individuals supporting this. Next slide. Similar to mammography, we have a lung screening cancer initiative. Again, this is active in Tennessee and in North Georgia. We're similar to the mammography unit. We're doing lung screenings. You see that there's a lot of people that have not, even more so, have never had a lung x-ray or lung scan to see what may be done. So these are using a low-dose CT to really kind of do an initial screening to see if there's any possibility of any abnormal cells or abnormal findings that need to be addressed by further care, more advanced care. Next. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was a little bit about precision medicine, and I'll dive into theranostics in a minute. But this is kind of the cool stuff. This is the new stuff. This is where innovation really is playing a key role, because in this industry, right, new drugs may be developed, but then you need new diagnostic imaging machines to be able to match or support the treatment dictated by those specific drugs. Or not only in terms of monitoring it, but at sometimes delivering the treatment through these advanced guided imaging systems as well. So let's start talking about some more innovative, cool stuff that's going on in the market that is, quite frankly, just beginning in the market and starting to change and have a directive. So if you look at the emerging therapies, right, or therapeutics, for a long time we knew about robotics. You've all probably heard about the Da Vinci robot. It's been around for a long time. It's mostly used in GI surgeries or robotic assisted surgeries in the abdomen, etc. Now we're seeing more advanced technologies even than that. For example, robotic bronchoscopy. So what's very important when you do a bronchoscopy of the lung, and if you see anything, how do you minimize the tissue that you extract for the biopsy? And how do you ensure that you're getting it all around all the parameters of it to ensure that you're detecting the cancerous cells if there happen to be cancerous cells there? So precision and what you extract is uber important in procedures such like this, which is why the image guided therapies with these bronchoscopies. So, and here, in this case, it's a project we're working on with Intuitive as well, with their Ion. But this is something that's very key and expanding exponentially, as you can see here in the numbers, the projections of what this can be and how it can improve the accuracy of the bronchoscopy or the extraction that is used for the biopsy. Two very avant-garde, let's say, for lack of a better word, but modern treatments that are really cutting edge that very few facilities are doing now, and more others are starting to do. You see a lot of these mostly in academic medical centers because of just where the stage is and the innovations, right, and these treatments. I'll talk first about theranostics. Now, theranostics is really the combination of therapy and diagnostics, right? You're trying to do it all in one. And with new drugs being developed, it gives the opportunity to treat specific cancers. Right now, it's mostly used for prostate cancer and beginnings of neuroendocrine tumors. But what you do, and I'll show you some pictures in a couple slides, is you do what's called a PET. PET is a positive emission tomography. Basically, that you may have heard about it in the hospitals. You do a PET scan, similar to what you do a CT scan or an MRI. There's another machine called a PET scan. It's mostly used to detect cancers. And also, you may have heard the word, they lit up, because when you do a PET, you inject radioactive isotopes into the patient, and then based on how they react with the sugar in the cells of cancerous tumors or cancerous cells, they light up in the scan. You'll see that and I'll show you a picture in a minute how it glows or marks itself, so you know that's a cell that was cancerous, because that's how it absorbed it reacted with the sugar and created an image. So this is what Theranos is about, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. For Alzheimer's, you may have heard a lot of it. It's been in the news, CNN, all these other news channels have carried stories. Even Dr. Sanjay Gupta has talked about the new treatments for Alzheimer's that are going forward. There's new drug called Akembi that was developed that's now in the market. However, with this new drug, when the patient takes this drug, it has to be a highly monitored system. As you know, Alzheimer's is the amyloid plaque in the brain. This drug reduces that, doesn't cure it, but reduces and prolongs the symptoms of the or delays the symptoms of the disease. What it does is, if you take this drug, you could also you're more susceptible to brain bleeds. So what you need to do is ongoing regular MRIs to make sure you have an MRI of the brain to make sure everything is still okay and you're progressing while taking this drug. So again, the marriage of the technology and the development that's been done in these new drugs that are crossing these chasms together to deliver a better care, better life, better healthy outcome for the patient. Next slide. So this was just a slide to show cancer incidence rates, how they continue to rise, how they're expected to continue to rise. So this is not a problem that is necessarily completely going away. But what we have found is that we really need more need for precision oncology. We want to make sure we're delivering care at the right time to the right patient in the right place to minimize any other damage around the body and just make sure that we're trying to target that specific cancer or those cancerous cells that come into play. So precision is key here. Next slide. So I did this slide because I wanted to show you this triangle, because this is how we see it at Siemens. This is how we are thinking in terms of what how we're trying to tackle these problems, right? We look at patient twinning, and we basically, with our images from the different modalities, whether it's computer tomography, CT, MRI, ultrasound, X-ray, whatever the case may be, through our lab tests, right? Whether it's a test for fatty liver disease known as ELF, or whether it's a test for troponin to tell us whether you're having a heart attack or not. All these different things, we can create with all that data a patient twin. So now that we have the patient twin, we can use precision therapy to really target that disease or the illnesses that are part of that patient, that customized for that patient. And by precision, I mean either image guided therapy to target a specific organ, to target a specific area, to target a specific cell, etc. And also, when you're treating cancer, you may have heard a lot about radiation oncology and what we call linear accelerators, where you go into a machine and the machine provides radiation to try to either shrink the tumor or hopefully eventually get rid of the tumor altogether. But in order to do that, these are very powerful machines with very powerful radiation. You want to make sure that you minimize any damage on any healthy parts around that. So precision, to know exactly where that tumor is, exactly where those cells are, exactly where I need to hit where that target is uber important. And a lot of that is done through image guided therapy. So the combination of knowing this data set, knowing where we need to hit it at, and then the imaging systems guiding us to it, so that then in this case of cancer, the linear accelerator does the radiation therapy or the proton therapy to target that specific cell is uber important, uber key, and how we look at this whole personalized medicine, precision therapy type of thing. These are the different solutions that Siemens Healthineers provides. But just wanted to kind of highlight those three areas, and finally, the third area being the digital component, the data that we talked about, but AI. We're using AI in many, many things, including and up to reading some X-rays, where before a radiologist had to read it. Now we've trained it through machine-based learning and AI tools for the AI systems to actually do an initial read, for example, of all those lung screenings to see if they found anything in those lung scans or not that need then to be referred to a radiologist or to a different provider based on what their findings are. These are all things that we have developed and are in the process of continuing to develop to ensure that these illnesses are treated in the best way possible. The next slide, please. So I just wanted to kind of dive one level deeper into theranostics, because it's like the cool thing right now. It's a lot of people are talking about. We have our annual radiologist Society of North America convention coming up in 2 weeks, and this is probably one of the hottest topics to be discussed on the floor, theranostics. Like I said, therapy, theranostics is therapy and diagnostics. But what you're doing is you're using these radioactive isotopes to really treat to treat the tumor, right? In this case, prostate cancer, let's say. So what it is, it's really using a combination of two drugs. One drug, the radioactive drug, to see where you're lighting up, where the tumor is, where the cancerous cells are, and then a second radioactive drug that gets generated and injected at the same time that delivers a therapy to that treatment to kill the cancer cells. So again, two different radioactive drug or radioactive isotopes that are being brought into the patient, where before we would use the part A, the diagnostics piece, we would inject the radioactive isotopes, galadium or whatever it might be, come straight into the patient, and the patient would, quote, light up or show us if there was any cancer where it was. But now we're actually going a step further, and with these new drugs being developed, such as Pluvicto and some others, those drugs are now being injected at the same time once we know where they light up, to basically treat the patient and reduce the tumor or kill the tumor cells around it. And like I said, this is mostly being used right now for prostate cancer, with some initial use for neuroendocrine tumors as well. Next slide. So here, these are pictures of actual PET scans. So you can see the pre-picture is where the patient lit up, what we call lit up. Basically, all those cancerous cells reacted with the isotope that was injected in to show there's reactions, cancerous cells there. And then the second image in these 4 cases shows after they were treated, post-treatment with these isotopes, a new PET scan was taken of the patient, and you can see the difference there where, and even in case 2, which is probably the most remarkable one, where they were completely lighting up with cancer, and then the reduction in the cancer and the post of treatment of lutetium 177 PSMA. Next slide. So that kind of like covers what I was going to cover in terms of innovation, scientific, healthcare equity and access, where we as Siemens Healthineers feel it's our obligation and part of our mission to be a part of the solution, whether through technology, through other medical advances, to partner with our customers and those that provide care. We can enable the provision of care. We don't provide care ourselves. We can enable them through the technology that we can provide them. Hopefully that gives you an idea of the space and the actions around it. And then just really quickly to talk about career opportunities. I know that was one thing that was asked to talk about as well at Siemens. So like I said, I've been here 19 years, and I'll show you the next slide. So we're the majority leader. We normally have number 1 or number 2 market share in everything we do. For example, with Varian, we have 80-something% market share with our linear accelerators. Our MRs are about over 60% market share in MRIs. So chances are, if you're getting an MRI, select then a Siemens machine. We have over 71,000 employees, and 90% of the leading hospitals, including those in U.S. News and World Report, all participate or are Rally partners with us, or are customers of ours, not all Rally partners. This is just a triangle like I showed you a minute ago, what kind of drives us, how we kind of explain things in terms of what we do. The next slide will just show that obviously we are a great place to work. And this is something that was determined by our colleagues, my colleagues. We all fill out surveys, and based on our surveys, a third-party company, Great Place to Work, certifies us as a great place to work or not. We've actually have received that for 2024 already as well, and have begun the process for 2025. But this is something we've done 7 years in a row, and we continue to do to develop our employees and make it a place that is safe and for them to work, and also something that they can explore and grow their careers, both professionally and personally as well. As you can see, I kind of referenced it at the beginning. Our purpose, we pioneer breakthroughs in healthcare for everyone, everywhere, sustainably. And by sustainably, we don't just mean, recycling, the water bottle or that I just dropped, or saving paper or something like that. What we talk about is, how do we set us up to be sustainable for the future? For example, the workforce programs I talked about. How do we set us up in the future to be sustainable in the way we deliver healthcare to everyone, everywhere? And finally, for us, D&I is very important. It's a different thinking, it's a backgrounds. We want to make sure that we bring in diversity of thought into our organization. Our customers treat patients of all kinds, of all ethnicities, of all sexual orientations, of all colors, and we want to make sure that we set them up and that they can mirror their patient population, and in turn, we can mirror what our customers look like as well. Next slide. And as part of that, within Siemens Healthineers, we have employee resource groups, and these are groups that are volunteer by employees that employees created. You can see a whole bunch of them here on the slide. And basically, employees participate in these groups at their will based on their interest, or they're an ally to a specific group and they want to participate in that group as well. But it allows them to continue to belong to different groups, share some commonalities, do some education for the rest of our colleagues around Siemens Healthineers during special weeks, etc. So this is something that we're very proud of and we continue to develop. Just this year, we added another employee resource group as well. And with that, I think that takes me to the end of my presentation. More than happy to answer any questions. I know the time may be short, but anything that you guys would like to ask, I'm more than willing to, hopefully try to answer. And again, I appreciate very much the opportunity for us to present to you who we are, what we focus on, and hopefully you learn a little bit about the innovation and some of the new healthcare delivery technologies are being rolled out into the market. Thank you.
Listen, Manuel, we could have you go for another 35, 40 minutes. Just the amount of information that you shared, just listening to it, it really made us really think about what it means to have equity in healthcare. I myself, being in the healthcare space, I understand how important it is, the information you shared, and really think that the work you guys are doing is essentially revolutionary. It ties into the AI world. It ties into the ability to build greater solutions. And I'm sure many people that are on this call are looking for opportunities where they can actually contribute and be a part of the mission. So first of all, round of applause for Mr. Manuel for the content that he shared. I think it was absolutely incredible. I will be first. And again, I'm going to encourage you guys to ask questions in the chat, but again, you're right on time, so we haven't lost any time here for a second. But I want to ask a question that really kind of delves into more of a global look at what Siemens is doing from a social determinants of health. Is this focused specifically in the U.S. continent, or is it a global initiative that covers multiple continents? Curiosity.
So actually, it's a global piece. We actually have someone in charge that we actually have a leader that spearheads access to care around the globe. So it's very different in different parts of the countries because in some parts of the countries you're working with NGOs, in some parts of the countries you're working with ministries of health, and you're partnering with because the way healthcare is delivered is very different. So it takes on a local spin or local flavor based on where it is. So here in the U.S., what I was describing is more in terms of urban versus rural. That's kind of the more the things. Some states are further behind than others, as we all know. But in terms of the more global perspective, there's a lot of work going on to serve very remote areas and how you do that with what technology, whether it's ultrasound because you can carry the ultrasound and the probe with you, or it is, but that it carries a local flavor, very global, I guess the short answer, and it's based on partnerships with either NGOs, non-governmental organizations, or ministries of health, based on depending on how their healthcare delivery is structured.
And what would you say is the more difficult part of the work you all do? What makes it challenging in essence? From the outside looking in, how would you say it would be challenging?
I think for us is I would say probably two main things are one, we're not just developing and innovating in terms of our space and how we see it. We need to develop and innovate with sometimes what we don't know, what other healthcare providers are doing, i.e., the drug companies, right? So they may be developed drug company, and Pluvicto is a perfect example, right? They may be developing these drugs that will require our technology to help monitor, but we got to figure out a way, how do we make them more efficient? Because if now we're going to have 100 more patients getting MRIs a week, how do we increase our throughput through our machines? The hospitals can still do it with the amount of machines that they have today. So that's one piece. And the second piece is, it's People like shiny objects, especially in the US. It's a market that likes the greatest and latest and greatest. I mean, we ourselves, we always want the latest iPhone, right? We oh, the 16's out. Wait for the 16 and get the 16, right? Well, physicians also want the latest MRI, the latest CT. And sometimes those aren't the most cost effective ones,
Effective.
right? So, but we need to make sure that when we design products, and with something we're taking into account more so now than ever, is how do we also design and manufacture a product that can be also used in the non-glitzy areas, right? Maybe not at a Hopkins, maybe not at an Emory, but can provide equal care and equal technology at a lower cost in some of these rural areas. And that's kind of the chasm that we struggle with at times.
Excellent. Thank you. And I'm just going to mention something. Chimdi in the chat said, I'm a new grad. How do I join these teams to contribute my skills? And it looks like Mara posted a link to the career site for Healthineers. So that is that. It sounds like that's a good way to start, correct?
Yes, I mean we do have internships. Our the internships for Healthineers will get posted in January, and also through our regular jobs as well, placements are all posted online.
Awesome. And if you have questions around opportunities, please check out that link. Thank you for posting that, Mara. And there's another question from Mr. Prince. What challenges have you faced in implementing solutions for social determinants of health worldwide? It kind of answered my question, but maybe if there's any ability to elaborate on that, sure.
I mean, I think that part is more provider focused than what
Mm,
we do, right? And a lot of the providers did in community area in specific communities will develop programs, preventive programs, to target specific populations based on common illnesses, or they may have a higher incidence of X, so they target those specific programs in that population. But that part is more provider focused, I would say. Well, we developed the technology for no matter who has the illness, who has the disease. The actual providers then go on to say, okay, we have a higher incidence of lung cancer in our area. So, and this is actually a true story. So they went and purchased their own lung screening mobile truck so that they could go out and do more outreach because there was a higher incidence of lung cancer in that specific area due to whatever environmental factors existed.
excellent. So, and that's great to know. So it sounds like you guys are almost sort of the ones creating the solutions, and then the private providers are leveraging it in their areas to ensure that they
Mhm.
support their constituents in a good way, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Exactly. And in
Um,
some cases, we bring the technology and like they may not have the mammo truck, right? So we bring the mammo truck to them for them to use, like in this example that I gave of a church parking lot in an underserved area of Philadelphia, true story. Or then we went there and we together with Penn healthcare
mhm.
system, they provided the physicians, we provided the technology to do these special community outreaches that we did 3 times a year to be able to address specific needs that they saw in those underserved areas.
Excellent, excellent. And as I'm listening to you share the details, I'm also watching Mara. She skillfully, craftily responds to every question in the chat. So I won't go ahead and repeat it because she's already answered most of those questions. Thank you for being such a graceful back chat responder. It's wonderful to see that. And thank you for those of you that had questions, Manuel. Really appreciate Manny. I think you go by
Absolutely.
Manny. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for, the time. Like I said, you're right on time in terms of what you covered. Again, round of applause for the content that you have. And again, how do people get a hold of you if they want to connect with you?
So I'll put my email. They can go to LinkedIn, I'll put my email in the chat now so that they have that as well. But probably LinkedIn is probably the best.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much,
The
Manny.
emails are kind of empty.
Yeah, awesome.
You can add
Well,
your, you
No,
can
no
add your,
worries. I thank you for the opportunity.
thank you. Thank you. And thank you all for being a part of the content. As he posted information on, we're going to keep going on with the segments. As I mentioned, we wanted to go into the Siemens content, the Healthineers. What amazing information that was shared today. We had a chance to learn a little bit more about what they do. Next, we're going to keep moving forward. And as I mentioned before, I wanted to make sure you guys are aware of who were the people on the team. And I'm going to share it again with you guys because some of the people are individuals that you'll see from time to time share content with you, present content with you. Perhaps you want to connect with them directly. Feel free to take a quick screenshot of this or snapshot of the individuals that you might work with. You can reach out to us directly or connect with us either on LinkedIn or on this call as well. Everyone is here is available to reach out to you. But moving forward, what I want to be able to do is give Mr. Our programs director, Mr. Devon Mings, an opportunity to share a little bit about our upcoming events and future outlook. So, Mr. Devon, are you there?
I'm here. Good evening, everyone. And I will talk a little bit about upcoming events. If we could go to the next slide. December 11th, we have a presentation from Patrick Iaselli, PhD candidate at Carnegie Mellon University. He'll be discussing innovations in artificial lung devices. Him and his team have been doing research and they will be sharing their findings with us on that date. So please stay tuned and we look forward to hosting you for this event. Also, stay tuned and look for our HISIG newsletters. There's lots of information about what we're currently doing and upcoming events. So please stay tuned and look out for those in your inbox.
What I'll also add about this is that CMU, Carnegie Mellon, is one of our zone our special regional zones that's essentially building opportunities within the Region 4. We're looking for ways to activate other university systems as part of our healthcare zoning initiative led by Udo, one of our leads. So this work that Patrick and team are doing it should be one of many. So if you have any interest in being a part of one of these events, feel free to reach out to Devon or reach out to Udo or anybody on this list because we want to give you an opportunity to share the precious research that you're doing with the rest of the community and be able to kind of put you on the pedestal so that when things like NSBE, the national conference comes up, we have an opportunity to pull you in. When we have regional webinars, we have an option to share with you that information and bring you along in that journey. So I just want to make sure I share that as well. So definitely look forward to this December 11th event, and hopefully there'll be a QR code that you can use to sign up, and the content will be amazing. And sorry, last slide, Devon.
And this slide talks about our HISIG ecosystem model, in which we try to incorporate and coordinate different parts of the regions of NSBE and try to come up with a community in which we can reach out to members in all regions to create a network in which we can deliver content, find speakers so we can deliver more meaningful content to you, our membership. And that's some of the work that we're doing internally to bring value to your membership as HISIG.
Yeah, and it follows the same model as NSBE, the NSBE, the regions as well as the PEB board. So if you're in any one of these regions and you still want to sort of formulate a group of folks that can do the same work in the ecosystem, this is our opportunity to kind of reach out to you. And what we're doing is building what we call zone leads. So if you want to be a zone lead, if you think there's interest in building that around you, we encourage you to do so as well. All right, moving on to the next slide.
And please save the date for the upcoming 2025 annual convention. It's our 50th anniversary. There is sure to be lots of surprises and lots of good things to look forward to. So please register as soon as possible if you're able. It should be definitely one to remember.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for sharing that, Devon.
Sure.
So a couple more last minute information that we want to make sure that you're aware of is in the process of building out our team, we're still looking for additional individuals, resources, people that want to get involved at a much more intimate level. This work doesn't work on its own. It actually looks for individuals like you that have the time, the dedication, the cycles to put it together. It looks good on your resume. It looks good on your CV in terms of your impact. You don't have to live in a specific area. You can live anywhere in the world to get this work done. We tend to meet to talk about different programs. In fact, the work that Manny and Prince did to put this content together was fairly minimal. I know that many of you have other partnerships with other agencies, McKesson and a few others, that if you want them to join us or at least have an opportunity in your company to share the information, we want to give you that opportunity to do so. Now, we also are accepting applications for the HISIG Executive Board. We have at least one more position available, which is the secretary role. And if you think there's interest where you can provide insight and be a part of it, please go ahead and scan this QR code, fill your information out, and we'll do our best to reach out to you and connect with you. This is the quickest way to get involved and get things going. With that, we would also love for you, and then you can see some people have already dropped it in the window. We love the idea of sharing information. So if you want someone to connect with you, if you want somebody to reach out to you, if you want to make sure that you have access to them, please feel free to drop your LinkedIn content in the window. I think when we're building communities like this, active communities within healthcare, it's important that people know how to get a hold of you. So I will encourage every single person on this call, if you don't have a LinkedIn address, if you don't have a way to connect with others, the fastest way to get things going is to drop your LinkedIn address in here. That way they can connect with you and vice versa, you can connect with them. That's what building communities is all about. And, we really do appreciate you, each and every one of you, taking the time at 9 o'clock Eastern time. I know some of you guys it's still 6 o'clock because you're on the West Coast to join this call and be a part of our conversation. And again, round of applause for Mr. Prince, our membership lead, who's taken the time to put this content together and organize the Healthineers and Siemens, and our speakers, Mr. Tony Black, Mr. John Thomas, and Mr. Manny and Mr. Devon for making sure that they're able to share the content. This is what our sessions are about, and we're looking for ways to continue to enhance it. And in order for us to enhance it, we need feedback from each one of you guys. So again, another challenge that we're asking before we end the call is take a few seconds, take a few minutes to fill out the survey. Give us the feedback. What did you like? What didn't you like? What would you have liked to see? What were things that you thought were helpful for you? How could you use some of this content in your career? If it's anything terrible, send it to me directly. If it's something great, post it in the chat. We'd love to hear the good news. But once again, we really do thank you for taking the time to be a part of this discussion. We want to make sure that you're on the mailing list as well. So by connecting with you here on LinkedIn, by making sure that you're added to the informational, it's going to make it easier for us to keep you informed, especially for those of you that are looking for opportunities in healthcare, for internships, full-time positions, or even opportunities to share content. This is where you want to come. With that, I'm going to pause and check in with Mr. Prince. Mr. Prince, have we missed anything? Is there anything that you wanted to add to the content?
Just this survey, I need everyone here to take a moment to scan and just drop in your information so that we can stay connected with you. Thank you. And also, we are on Instagram. It's NSBE HISIG. On YouTube, you can find the content on YouTube. NSBE HISIG. Just look it up. And also on LinkedIn, you can find us NSBE HISIG, or you can just type NSBE Healthcare Innovation Special Interest Group, and also on Twitter, now X. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right. And last piece is just some of the partnership overtimes, sharing with you guys the work that we're doing, partnering with other agencies. Don't be surprised if you see more of these coming up where AstraZeneca or Biogen or Medtronics or even Amgen are delivering the same content. It's all helpful. It's all beneficial. It'll be recorded. It'll be posted for you guys. Once again, this is your NSBE HISIG Leadership Board, Executive Board, bringing you some great content. We look forward to hearing from you in the near future. Have a great evening and enjoy the night. Thank you guys. Bye. I'll leave you guys to some good music as we wrap up.